So that's one of the companies, and then another company. I have had my own company, Fredrik Löfgren, since way back, and giving lectures and consultancy and so on. And in the pandemic, people asked me, "Can you give a lecture over Skype?" And I said, "Yes, of course, I can give a lecture over Skype. But you know that it's from 2003; it's 17 years old." And they said, "Oh, we thought that video meetings was the new cool thing here." And I said, no, let's go into the next phase. In the 20s, we are using virtual reality and the Metaverse. And they asked, what is Metaverse? And I said, let me demonstrate it. So I went up to Stockholm to their headquarters at that company and had some headsets with me. I didn't own my own headset, so I borrowed it from friends. And I was there and demonstrated how can we use it. And they said, this is mind-blowing. This is so cool. We need to do this. And then their event organizer they had hired for this conference said, we are out of here. We can't do this. It's too much technology. So then the full conference went into my my need to solve this. And I went back to my robotics company, Dyno Robotics, and said, we put the robot project on hold and let us create a virtual conference here. So instead of CADing robot part, we was making a stage. We need everything you need in a conference. And the clients want balloons, they want roll-ups and everything. So we did that, and we organized the conference in April 2020, so in the beginning of the pandemic. And it was a huge success, and it was so fun to move around there. We had 300 participants in the VR environment, and CFO could have the economic presentation with a laser pointer and integrated to PowerPoint and everything, and communicating with each other. And one strong advantage here is that we can all be talking at the same time, and we can have two groups, one group standing in one place and another in another place, and they won't interfere with each other. In Teams or Zoom, we have one at a time talking. Of course, you can do breakout rooms, but here we have the spatial dimension, so you can move around. So when after the conference, we have a mingle on a rooftop in a scene like Miami. So we was standing on a roof in Miami, and we heard all the soaring. Everyone was talking around, and it was fantastic. And that conference was quite, people was talking about it, and it got in the newspapers, and the TV, SVT was doing something about it. So after that, Ericsson called us, Saab called us, IKEA called us, and I thought that we can't continue doing this in the robotics company because we need to continue on with the robotics projects. So then we founded a new company called Around the Corner, where we was doing more and more conferences. We had maybe during the pandemic 60 conferences, some smaller but also some larger with several hundred people. But now it's the conferences are dropping, but we see more and more like selling showrooms. So instead of having a PowerPoint with your pitch, you can walk into the PowerPoint, having your product in 3 dimensions. You can take your clients with you in there, and you don't need to use these VR Google's glasses. You can go into the web browser. You just send a link, and then you are in a virtual environment, and you can walk around together with the client and explaining your services and so on.
And how do you, maybe I'm jumping now, but this leads me straight into, is this Metaverse? Or what is Metaverse?
I would say that it's Metaverse. Metaverse is about social VR. You can be several, it's multi-user or multiplayer environment, and you can display 3D objects, and you can interact with each other and the environment. So you can, for example, have a compliance guide, and you can do some quiz and training and so on. That's Metaverse. But then you can also say that Metaverse is connected to Bitcoin and connected to NFTs, and hype over there. But I think the main or the original idea is this virtual environment where you can move around.
This was really my argument. So like the core definition of metaverse is a social place in a virtual space.
I would say so, yes.
Something like this, yes. Right? And then of course we have all these different tangents, you know, when you start going nuts of what you could do and how you could monetize it.
Instead of using Bitcoins, we have done an integration to Swish. So we can do payments over Swish and you can sign it and pay. And we have done that for Musikhjälpen, this Swedish program, national TV and radio. You can donate money over Swish and so on. So it's possible to connect it to the physical world.
So when did Bitcoin become a part of Metaverse? Because I don't know.
Blockchain, I guess.
Or blockchain, I should say.
Yeah, I think it has always been, or people are like the crypto guys are talking about it and want it to be part of some community.
Exactly.
And they found out.
I want to find a place.
That's kind of fluffy definition of something. Metaverse is a fluffy definition. Perhaps blockchain can be part of it as well.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, I'm dashing or ranting.
Bashing.
Yeah, we are also doing that. But that's around the corner, and we are doing more and more like showrooms and even studios. So we could have this pod from within Metaverse, and we have virtual cameras and so on. And then we can be wherever we want. And you can use it as a part of your like storytelling. I can snap my fingers and then we are in a new environment. So instead of just having your 2D PowerPoint, you can use the full environment to present your stuff.
And how do you see this? Why is this useful?
For example, it's easier to grasp a topic. If I'm talking about proteins, we had a huge conference for protein researchers. It's easier if we have the molecule or the protein or the virus in front of us and we can discuss it and we can tear it apart instead of just showing in an animation. So it's easier to grasp complex topics. If I'm talking about math, I can have the plane and lines and intersections very visible and it's more intuitive to have it in 3D. We are used to work in the 3D environment. We are 3D bodies. And then it's unnatural to work on the screen.
So in a way, if we stretch our imagination here, we are not in the future in the same way consuming something on a screen. Exactly. We are walking into the presentation as an experience.
I would say so, yes. And I think today it's quite unnatural to do the shopping on the screen or do all our interaction on phones or computer screens or TV. I think we will in maybe 10 or less years have more 3D content. With AR or VR, we can have more 3D content and also record. Today we are taking pictures in 2D. I think in the future we can take pictures and videos in 3 dimensions as well. So we can record information, much higher dimension and much richer content.
How do you see the future of Facebook, now called Meta, playing out in this? I mean, Meta or previous Facebook has like halved in value now in the last, half a year or something.
But I don't think that's connected to the name change.
No, okay, agreed. But still, they are claiming, they've been popularizing at least the term Metaverse.
Yes, a lot. Yes, and I'm riding on the hype.
I guess so. What do you think about if we take Mark Zuckerberg or Meta in general? What do you think that will be the main like Metaverse going forward, or do you think that
we have a lot of different competing platforms today, and the Facebook Meta platform is not so mature. We have better ones from Microsoft called Altspace, for example. We have a lot of different startups, Spatial and Mozilla Foundation have also one called Hubs that is open source, and I think it's a very great one. We have another one called Frame VR. So there are competing metaverses, and they are not competing.
But I think this is very good to unpack, right? Because there's some extreme media circus, especially when Zuckerberg and Facebook is around, and all of a sudden he sort of for the non-initiated, Meta invented Metaverse, and that's the place to be.
The Metaverse, but it's not the Metaverse.
And would you even argue that it's not even the most mature in terms of sophistication, in terms of how you can experience it?
They are definitely not the most mature. But they are having a large team on it. So
when they put their money behind this,
exactly,
they will accelerate.
Might be, yeah. But it's hard to tell. And it's when the internet was new, you had a lot of different competing agencies working.
But I think this is the scary part, because internet to me is open source first, and no one can really own the internet, or no one can sort of, I don't know how for me it becomes really strange when one company is trying to dominate what, the space. Do you see? I see that
on the internet you have a lot of companies doing web pages, they are selling web pages. They are not. No one is owning internet, but you have content providers to the internet. And you can say the same here. You have Microsoft as a content provider, or Facebook as a content provider, maybe.
But you do have, huge.
Yeah, you do, I guess.
Tech giants.
Yes, I just realized what I said was not correct.
Exactly.
I just realized that.
Especially in these days when some other or some specific people are buying social media, and dominating with a few number of people and companies in extreme how internet works today.